Barakata Yahweh, Barakata Yahushai, by Shem Barakah Kudash, Barakathom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh by Shem Yahushai. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule and teach well. And peace and salutations to Yahakim out there pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the brother Ra'aya with another video. Now I'm going to start it off with Jeremiah chapter 50 verse 9. For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon, the United States of America, which in the scriptures is known as Babylon the Great, the virgin daughter of Babylon, as well as spiritual Sodom and Egypt, as pursuant to Revelation chapter 11 verse 8, an assembly of great nations from the north country, Russia, which besides being known as the north country in the scriptures, is also known as the Medes and Gog, as pursuant to Ezekiel chapter 38. And that assembly of great nations is not only speaking of the allies of Russia, such as China, Iran, and North Korea, but also the allies of the United States, such as Britain, France, and Germany, which will turn against the United States during this upcoming nuclear-armed World War III and ally themselves with this north country, Russia, and they're all going to shoot their nuclear missiles onto the United States, turning it into the biblical lake of fire from sea to shining sea. And they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken. Their arrows shall be as of a mighty expert man. None shall return in vain. And those arrows are referring to those nuclear-tipped ICBMs. Because what you have to remember is that the prophets had these visions thousands of years ago, so they didn't know what an intercontinental ballistic missile was, so they had to describe it the best way they could with what they knew during their times. Weapons of war, such as arrows, spears, javelins, swords, you name it. But in this particular video, I'm going to further elaborate on why Russia is known as the North Country in this particular scripture. Because not only is Russia north of the United States, but the majority of those nuclear missiles that are going to be shot from Russia are going to be shot across the Arctic Ocean to the United States. Because it has the shortest trajectory time. And here's a map. You have the Arctic Ocean right here, you have Russia right here, and you have Canada and the United States. Russia is north of it. And I've got two articles to show that Russia's been testing their military hardware in the Arctic Ocean region. My first article is on Forbes.com titled, Russia fires nuclear-capable missile, one of those arrows, from North Pole. Early on Saturday morning, the peace and tranquility of the Arctic Ocean, hundreds of miles from the nearest signs of human activity, was shattered. A Russian submarine punched through the ice near the North Pole and fired a Saniva-type intercontinental ballistic missile. Meanwhile, around 1,000 miles further south, yet still within the Arctic Circle, another Russian submarine launched a Bulava-type intercontinental ballistic missile from beneath the surface of the Barents Sea. And when we go back to that map, the Barents Sea is right here, still in the same region. The timing and location of these tests may be intended to send messages both internally and to the rest of the world. And it is a message from Yahweh by Shem Yahushai that he's about to visit this world in which he made for its wickedness. The distinctive outline of a Russian Delta IV class ballistic missile submarine in the Arctic. The boat which fired the missile from the North Pole was its sister ship K-114 Tula. Russia announced the two launches on August 24th. The near simultaneous launches were conducted by two submarines, a Delta IV class boat named Tula firing from the North Pole, Slovakia, and the newer Borai I class boat Yuri Dolgoruki firing the frigid waters of the Barents Sea. One of the missiles flew a couple of thousand miles to impact in a remote corner of Russia's Pacific coast, and the other landed in the Chiz Range on the Kenai Peninsula in the Arctic North. and best believe that this is a response to the United States pulling out of the INF, and the Intermediate Nuclear Forces Treaty, because once they did that, it would lead to both the United States and Russia rebuilding their nuclear arsenals, and that's all through the will of Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahushai to bring about this upcoming nuclear destruction. And I wish I could find it, but there was a little animated video that came out during the Cold War showing what the most likely paths would be for a nuclear strike from Russia, and they had arrows coming out of Russia and going to the United States, and the majority of them came from the north across the Arctic Ocean, across Canada to the United States. And now I'm gonna go to my second article on RT.com titled, Big War in the Arctic, How Could It Happen? The Arctic's ice cover is melting, which presents new economic opportunities for the Arctic states, while also making competition between them stiffer. Can these opposing interests lead to a large-scale war in the region? And it will. The Arctic is going to serve as another front in this upcoming nuclear-armed World War III. The fight for the resource-rich region now involves not just the Arctic Ocean countries, the US, Russia, Canada, Norway, and Denmark, but powers from other regions as well, such as, for instance, China. And remember, China has that economic Belt and Road Initiative, which Russia is a part of, and China plans on expanding that economic corridor into the Arctic region, and best believe there's a military aspect to it, because China knows that by expanding the Belt and Road Initiative into the Arctic, they're going to be in the United States' backyard. Polar research is no longer a purely scientific endeavor. The focus is now shifted towards economic aspects, which in turn has led to a serious political debate between the Arctic states. Russia's comeback in the Arctic. In the wild 1990s, almost all Russian military units stationed in the Arctic were downsized. There was basically no army presence all along the coastline from Murmansk to Chukotka. Russia lost control over the vast region. Now Russia is returning to the Arctic and is using new technological solutions to stake its claim. The Russian armed forces are rapidly increasing their military potential and presence in the region. Moscow has the largest icebreaker fleet in the world. It is building military and navy bases as well as airfields in the region. It is also improving its air support system and its anti-aircraft protection, and is upgrading its radars. And this plays perfectly into Ezekiel chapter 38. The Most High is putting that old confrontational Soviet Union spirit back on these Russians so they can fulfill Jeremiah 50 verse 9. This is Ezekiel chapter 38. I'm going to start at verse 1. And the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, Russia, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him, and say, Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, Behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, turn thee back into that old confrontational Cuban Missile Crisis Soviet Union spirit, where you're not afraid to buck up to the United States of America, and I will bring thee forth and all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. Russia's military hardware, such as the S-400, its tanks, its fighter jets, its helicopters, you name it. And this is mainly referring to Russia moving its military forces down into the Middle East for that battle in the Valley of Jehoshaphat, or that War of Armageddon, but it can also refer to Russia moving its military hardware into the Arctic region. As we just read in that article, Russia just test-fired nuclear-capable intercontinental ballistic missiles. So as Yakim can see, all these pieces of prophecy are perfectly falling into place. Now let's put everything together. Jeremiah 50 verse 9, For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon, the United States, an assembly of great nations from the north country, from Russia across the Arctic Ocean, and they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken, Their arrows, or nuclear-tipped ICBMs, shall be as of a mighty expert man. None shall return in vain. Jeremiah 50 verse 14. Put yourselves in array against Babylon, that assembly of great nations from the north country, round about. All ye that bend the bow, shoot at her, spare no arrows, for none shall return in vain, for she hath sinned against Yahweh. Isaiah chapter 13, I'm going to read verse 17 to 22. Behold, I will stir up the Medes, or the Russians, against them, against Babylon, the United States, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. Everything's set in stone. Those nuclear missiles will be shot from that north country and that assembly of great nations onto the United States. No peace treaties or peace talks are going to avert that from coming to pass. Verse 18, their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces. All ye that bend the bow, shoot at her, spare no arrows. And they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb, their eyes shall not spare children. And Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency, shall be as when the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. And how was ancient Sodom and Gomorrah overthrown? By fire and brimstone from the sky. And this modern day Sodom and Gomorrah, that spiritual Sodom and Egypt, as pursuant to Revelation 11 verse 8, will be overthrown by that modern fire and brimstone from the sky, those nuclear-tipped ICBMs. It shall never be inhabited, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation, neither shall the Arabian pitch tent there, neither shall the shepherds make their fold there, but wild beasts of the desert shall lie there, and their houses shall be full of doleful creatures, and owls shall dwell there, and satyrs shall dance there. After the United States, Babylon the Great is hit by those 200 million nuclear missiles, as well as laser beams from the chariot of the Most High, which people ignorantly refer to as so-called UFOs. It's going to turn this place into the biblical lake of fire from sea to shining sea, and an uninhabitable wasteland afterwards, where only desert creatures are going to dwell. Babylon the Great is only going to be remembered as what a wicked kingdom looks like and how not to govern the world. And the wild beasts of the island shall cry in their desolate houses, and dragons in their pleasant palaces, and her time is near to come, her days shall not be prolonged. And the time of Babylon the Great, the United States of America, is near to come. You can see all these end times prophecies begin to come to their fulfillment. So now more than ever, Akim, now's not the time to be getting weak in the faith. You should be fully assured in your faith in Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, and have all 10 toes down in this truth, pushing this word as hard as you can to make your calling and election sure, and be saved from these coming terrible calamities of Jacob's trouble. So with this video, I hope you sincere Akim were edified. As always, I'm going to say Abba Babal, Kwam Yasharala. Till next time, Shalom.